All right, everybody, want to take a second to talk to you about an amazing sponsor. We have an amazing relationship with RayAllen.com. Ray Allen is a one-stop shop for everything dog, not just working dogs. Everything dog that you need, you can go down there, check them out, RayAllen.com. Awesome people. They got everything you need.
Another one of our favorite partnerships is with Dogtra. They've been with us from the start. Great collars, great ball poppers, great GPS tracking, big dog, small dog, bark collars, everything. I got everything like that they have at the kennel. We use it every day. Be sure to head them up, dogtra.com. Listen for the discount code later in the episode.
Hey, guys, it's going to happen. August 16th through the 19th. HITS is coming back. The HITS Canine Conference in Orlando, Florida, August 16th through the 19th. Get on there. It's the biggest, the best. Check it out. HitsCanine.net. HitsCanine.net. Get registered now.
Take the guesswork out of making sure you're feeding your working dog correctly by using Kinetic Dog Food. Hit them up at kineticdogfood.com and look them up on the Instagrams at Kinetic Dog Food. Take all the guesswork out and do it right from the beginning.
We love Horizon Structures. Dude, this stuff is so awesome, man. You can get online. You can talk to them. You could build it you want from mild to wild. They'll come bring it to your place, set it down on your pad, hook up your power, hook up your water, and you can put dogs in it that day. If you don't believe me, check out some guys like Justin Rigney's got a great setup there. Ask him. Check him out, horizonstructures.com.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I am Ted Summers from a very windy Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's spring in Oklahoma, so it's what happens here. It rains and it's fucking windy all the time. It makes tracking a pain in the ass, but it's really good for proximity alerts. Eric, what do you got going on, man?
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing that I am not in my bedroom. I am at the fun house in the kitchen with my Barney, signed, autographed Barney. Don Knott's picture in the back there. I love that thing. Yeah, we are recording this at noon Eastern. We'll get into why here in a minute. But yeah, so we are today I started training up some dogs. I have a narc dog that I've been doing for a couple of weeks, got her imprinted, moved on to hides today. I have a dog I'm doing my Green Plus system on. Dual purpose drug dog, and another one doing explosives. They started odor today. So rolling right along. Still got the 3 springers. Haven't even really put them out there yet. Just letting them run around being wild psychos and all that. What's going on in Tulsa?
Finishing up handler school. He finishes Friday. He could have certified last week, but I'm taking him down on Friday to just south of Oklahoma City. We're going to certify with some of the dudes from the OBN, and then we're going to just turn it into a training day. So I'm going to go down there all day and take a couple of green dogs, take Kevlar and Deontay down and get them certified. And yeah, we were doing building searches today. Like right before I came over here, I've got a handler up from a county sheriff's office just south of Oklahoma City running his Green Plus C dog and Kevlar, obviously, and we're doing send-ins and then doing remote recalls and, you know, from inside the building, having the decoys running around. So it's pretty, yeah. It rained like all day yesterday, so we didn't really get to do shit. But I tracked all like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just track, and the dogs were just smoked. So I'm kind of glad to not be doing that today, but doing a bunch of article recovery stuff too with them. So it's been good. It'll be good to get back to just normal pet stuff. We got a shit ton of pets in stock in the inventory now, and I'm getting ready to hire another trainer, I think. So
nice.
Yeah. So who do we got going tonight, or today, I guess?
Yeah, today. Well, before we get into the guests, we got to take a second to give a shout out and a rest in peace to our buddy Static.
Yeah.
Static was Alicia's dog. How old was Static?
10 or 11.
Yeah. He's passed yesterday, the day before we're recording this. Owned by Alicia, who's the producer and one of the owners of the podcast. So we just wanted to take a second and tell her we're sorry to hear this, that you had to deal with this. And it's been a pretty shitty year dog-wise for Alicia. So
yeah.
But anyways, so I'm super excited about our guest. We've been trying to get him and this topic on for a long time, and being the time difference and everything like that, it's not easy. That's why we're recording at noon. So our guest today is the co-founder and director at ATS, which is Anti-Poaching Tracking Specialist. It's a group of 11 off-leash canines. The ATS is regarded as having created one of the best operating Malinois canine units in Southern Africa, an award-winning rhino protection, anti-poaching, and illegal wildlife anti-trafficking wildlife conservation security unit in Zimbabwe's Savi Valley Conservancy. The dogs will regularly track up to 25 kilometers, and our people bitch about testing at 150 yards. And on poacher detections, we'll go further than this. Total area of protection is 250,000 acres. I mean, in Southern Africa, their efforts have resulted in a combined over 189 years in prison for rhino poachers in the 10 years they've been in operation. And considering that 9 years is the max penalty that someone can get for that, that's a pretty good track record. 29 rhino poachers apprehended in the last 4 years. We're going to get in and talk to our guest about this is like a family affair for him. Her family deeply rooted into this type of work. We'll talk about Canine Justice, who's a world-class lead. Canine Justice was born and received 1 year of training in the UK before coming to Zimbabwe at a year old. We'll talk about his accomplishments. So our guest today joining us is Bryce Clemence. Bryce, how are you, buddy?
Hi, Eric. Yeah, really good, thanks. And thanks to you and Ted for having me on. A real privilege to chat to you guys today.
Yeah, we talked to him. It's amazing that we're able to get a hold of him. He's on Wi-Fi in the deepest, darkest reaches of Southern Africa, as he pointed out to us. So you guys that are struggling with Wi-Fi in Detroit, Michigan, can stop bitching.
The deepest, darkest part of the United States is Detroit.
Yeah,
so.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. So, Bryce, let's talk about your history, where you grew up, and then how you got into this. It sounds to me like your father was a big part of this and his history. If we can get into that, that'd be awesome.
Fantastic, Eric. Yes. So born and bred in Zimbabwe, in the northwestern region in a place called Kariba. That's where I was born. Conservation, my dad brought the conservation element into our family. He was born actually in Swaziland, but grew up and spent all his formative years in Botswana in the Okavango Delta in Maun. So he grew up with the Bushmen, with the Maasai people. Correction, with the San people in Maun. He grew up with them. He learned all his bushcraft principles there, from a really young age. He then moved to Rhodesia in those days and joined the military, and then went straight in. And then, of course, the Rhodesian Bush War. And he was a very prominent figure. Ended up being chief instructor of the Selous Scouts, and he really brought in. Took the tracking, bushcraft and tracking to another level in the Scouts. They were SAS trained guys who then took the tracking to another level and the bushcraft element. And then obviously after a lengthy war, we being born in Kariba, we then, after the war, my dad's passion was always wildlife, and he went into kids education. He went into teaching kids, doing kids groups, bringing them out to the bush and doing, just educating them on wildlife, on the bush, and putting a whole lot of valuable principles into kids. That was his passion, using the environment to try and give youngsters some focus and direction in their lives, and particularly putting the conservation aspect into them. I grew up under that banner. And that's where my whole love and passion for the bush was sparked. And then as I got into my sort of teen years, I started anti-poaching, anti-snaring at a basic level in our hometown, and just kind of advanced from there. My first job was I was diving. I was a commercial diver on some fish farms. And then an opportunity came up for for training in Zimbabwe when rhino poaching 2009-10 rhino poaching was sort of peaking. My old man was approached to do some special training for Zimparks, who are a paramilitary organization, in the 5 intensive protection zones around Zimbabwe where they have rhino. And that was a golden opportunity for me to join him and be able to learn from him, learn all the paramilitary and military skills, all the bushcraft, counterinsurgency from a Selous Scouts veteran. And so Parks opened up the door. He went in, I went in with him, and we started training on all the IPZs, close quarter battle drills, bushcraft, counterinsurgency type tactics, just basically how to combat these rhino poachers, because they basically come into the area like an insurgent and then kill the rhino and go. So I got to spend 2.5 years training with my old man as his assistant on these courses back to back. That's where I got my grounding. That's where it all started for me. I was then asked to come and assist in the Savi Valley Conservancy when the training was coming to an end. The Conservancy was taking strain. They were having a lot of rhino poaching at the time, 2012. I came in April 2012, 2 days after 2 rhino had just been killed, and I came into the Conservancy, conducted an appraisal, and then they asked me to stay long term. So that's the basic background, Eric, in a nutshell of where I've come from.
So I want to back up. Your dad's name is Peter, right?
Peter Clemence, yes, that's correct.
So talk to folks here in the States, especially. You kind of brushed past it, his accomplishments, but about the Rhodesian special units that he was involved in, how he learned to do the counterinsurgency stuff, and how special that those folks over there are.
Yeah, so obviously, a lot of the guys that were recruited into the Rhodesian forces, they grew up on farms, and like he grew up in Maun in Botswana and learned from the Bushmen, learned how to track, learned all the principles, and then being SAS trained, when he moved into the military, the war got going, and naturally he excelled in the field of tracking, and then basically put all his skill sets into that side of things. It was an incredibly intensive war, because they spent sometimes 16 weeks at a time out in the field. The Scouts were renowned for their intelligence, their long-term deployments, their reconnaissance work, and their track to contact. That was really their strength. And they were operating in areas that full of wildlife, full of dangerous game, lots of challenges, like I say, long-term deployments. And they had to improvise, adapt and overcome in those situations. And my old man, he was promoted up the ranks quite quickly with that skill set. And then he ended up building the camp that ended up actually turning over most of the Selous Scouts regulars, a camp called Wafa Wafa, based on Lake Kariba. And that was a camp designed for training, specifically tracking, the tracking wing, tracking and bushcraft, and then of course the counterinsurgency aspects, all based around recon work and tracking. And they were phenomenal. They were renowned for tracking, sometimes days and days of tracking, long distance tracking, and they had an incredible reputation. Just their tenacity, their ability to survive, to work through really, really difficult circumstances and persevere to get results. They were renowned for bringing in some of the greatest results through that phase. So yeah, he was a really prominent figure in the military, but it was a sensitive issue because when Rhodesia went over to Zimbabwe, there was a lot of bitterness between the two sides. But my old man was someone who let that go, put it behind him, had no racial attachment afterwards. He had no racial issue, and then he went into kids education, and that side of things, and then to be accepted into Zim Parks later to train with all that military background was quite a thing. He was vetted and he was accepted to train because of his specific skill sets. Rhino poaching syndicates are specialized. They're criminals that have got very good bushcraft. They will study the area, they will study the habits and how you operate, and then they will come in like an insurgent into the area, anti-tracking, deep into an area. They'll lie low and they will track a rhino and then shoot it, take the horn and go. They're very smart, and like I say, they get very good at their bushcraft. And so this was exactly in line with my dad's skill sets. And so he imparted that on to me and my brother Shannon, and we've been able to enhance with modern technology and with the canines now. He's remarked, he said, what an incredible thing, to be able to add the canines in the way we have, and what an incredible difference it makes, especially in a park where poachers can, get in and get to the boundary quickly. You don't have although it's a huge area, a poaching syndicate leaving the area in a couple of hours, they're out. So you need to be able to get on track and move quickly and close the gap. And that's where the canines have been phenomenal. So putting it all together, the bushcraft side, his experience, he was able to guide us along with the Zim Parks rangers that he's trained, give us all the experience he has, so that we can stay safe. We're dealing with criminals that prepared to shoot you. We've been shot at, we've had serious contacts. It's normally always an armed conflict, at the end game. And so we've really needed that experience and those skill sets to work with, and we train to an elite level, applying all those principles, and then the goal is to pick up on spoor. A lot of our work is detection. I'd say probably 80%, 90% is detection with the canines, and then all coupled in, like I said, intelligence, the canines, etc. And then when we pick up, we track to contact. And obviously the aim is to make an arrest, but often these guys will shoot back and it turns into a shootout. And fortunately, so far, we haven't taken any losses or casualties. So far, so good. And I'll attribute that to the training that we've got from our man.
So back when he was lead instructor in the open, he got that training camp. What was the full name of that, and what does that mean, so that people kind of get an idea of the mentality?
So the name of that camp was Wafa Wafa, and Wasara Wasara. That was the name. The camp was Wafa Wafa. That means if you die, you die. If you stay, you stay. If you remain, you remain. Basically, it was really, really staunch. We're talking, the best of the best grade soldiers. Really, really tough guys, and if they picked up on track, they were determined. I mean, the biggest principle that he's taught us is what he refers to as aggressive determination. When you get on track, you don't give up until full conclusion. You keep going. Doesn't matter what the circumstances you're going through. You keep pushing to the end till the contact or the conclusion. And that's what made them so special, is they were really tough and hardened, that's what we've had to take on to be able to be effective in this rhino war.
So you mentioned your brother's name earlier. When did he come on, and what did he bring to the mix? What did he bring to you guys?
So he was also obviously out of the same mold. He then moved over to the States, and I think it was 2007 around there. And he was working with the Scott Donelan Tracking School, and that school, that tracking school, was engaged with a number of U.S. military units, counter IED units, MARSOC, a number of units that they were working with, basically giving tracking training. And he was assisting there for some time, instructing and assisting with his tracking skills. He then felt, the need. We were on the coalface here on the battlefront with the rhino and feeding back to him, and he just felt he needed to get back home and come and help us and come and engage and support us. So he came out a little later on, and yeah, he's been with us since, and basically brought the skill sets, extra principles he learned that side, but pretty much, yeah, the same strategy. It's to know the enemy or the insurgent, know the enemy, know the terrain, and know the asset. So it's basically to understand the rhino and its behavior, understand the terrain and own the terrain, and the criminal, that's coming in. And if you can understand those, and you can then train your men to a standard where you can pick up on it, track, follow through all the way to make an arrest or to make contact. It sounds straightforward, but it takes a lot of horns to get on behind a red dot sight on a rapid rifle and track these guys down, knowing that somebody's going to die or get shot at or whatever. It takes quite a bit, and obviously building the team. It takes time to really build the confidence in the team and to build that real team camaraderie, which we've managed to do. It's really phenomenal.
Yeah, it sounds tough, man, like really tough. We're going to take our first break here in a minute, but before we do, I want to ask, so, your dad has all this experience. You've been all over the place. Your brother was in the U.S. for a while. It would be easy for you guys to just leave Africa if you wanted to, right? And go do some things in some other places. But it sounds to me like that's just not a thing. You're just not going to do that. You're African, born and raised down there. Was there ever a consideration of taking the easier route and maybe going and doing something else?
Yeah, interesting question, Eric. There were times it was really tough here, economically, etc. And that's actually why my brother left at first, because it was just hard to make a living. It was just hard to find work, and I got into the training at that point and had that opportunity with my old man. But once Africa's in your blood, it's really, really hard to get it out. It's just hard to find that same meaning. And I've been out there to different places and overseas and seen some amazing places in the world. But for us, the rhino issue is not only about the rhino, it's all of conservation, but the rhino being specifically under threat. Our goal and our mission here is to really protect these rhinos so they can breed up, and then we can put them into other areas. We're doing it for the country and for the whole world at large, actually. So it's a really worthy cause. And I love Africa. I love living amongst wildlife. I can't think of going to anything that's sort of less adrenaline, less octane, if you want to put it that way. And I really love it. I really love, working with the men, with the dogs, with the wildlife, no plans to move on anywhere.
It's funny you say that, Africa in your blood. We have, Ted and I have a friend. She is from here. She spends so much time in Africa helping in these types of things that she comes back here just for a minute, back over, back. And I don't think she'll ever do anything else. And other people I've met that aren't from Africa that go to spend time, it says it just calls them and draws them back over. And I neither Ted or I have ever been there, but we talk a lot about getting over there at some point and meeting people and learning and seeing just everything. Is such a massive country, with such massive
Absolutely.
areas. It's crazy.
Yep.
You would love it out here. You guys would love it. I mean, and you're welcome to come at some point. It would be good to have you guys come and see what we do and come and get some of your skills and experience. But I'm sure you would get bitten by the bug if you did one trip out here. You'd be hooked for sure.
Man, I'm not sure I want to get bit by anything in Africa except a dog. Like I don't know. Like before we started, I was like, they're out there protecting shit that wants to fucking kill them too. I'm like, damn. So you have to deal with the poachers and the damn rhinos. So we have buffaloes here, which we protect them, and I've gotten close to them. I'm like, that's good for me. I'm out. But
I may have to come visit. I'm pretty damn good with a rifle and a red dot, but I'm not bad. Not bad. So. We're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get into it's working dog radio. So we're going to get into the dog side of everything, training and the work itself. Maybe even talk about a couple specific dogs. And so this is going to be great, man. Stick around, guys. Don't go anywhere.
HITS Canine Training Conference. This is America's premier canine training seminar packed to the brim with the world's best instructors and me and Eric, all covering important topics. There's no better place to learn and no better place to network with other handlers, breeders, and trainers. HITS 2022 is being held in Orlando, Florida this year, August 16th through the 19th. And I know how you guys are. Everybody waits at the last minute. And in the post-Rona world, everybody's training budgets are being cut and everybody's deciding whether they're going to be able to get to go or not. So don't wait, because they're not going to have an infinite number of spots, and the price goes up after a certain date. So get signed up as soon as possible. It's in Orlando. We'll see you there. Be sure to hit them up. HITS K9, letter K, number 9.net.
One of the best relationships we have in this podcast and in this industry is with the great people down at Kinetic Dog Food. The story of Kinetic Performance Dog Food is pretty simple. They wanted to make a better premium dog food for the dogs that need it the most. Their goal is to give every working and sporting dog a higher energy level, better performance, and better overall health through superior nutrition. So they formulated a line of food based on what they considered to be the optimal profile of a performance dog. They've done tons of research on this. This isn't their first rodeo. These guys know what they're doing. If you're a kennel, they will come to your kennel. They will see the problems that you have. They will check out what works for the dogs that you have. They're amazing people to work with. They drop ship a pallet right to you if you want. I know a lot of guys that use them. There's a bunch of different formulas on there, and 32K might not be for your dogs. Maybe the 26K works. They can adjust it. They'll give you the right ideas what to do in different parts of the year. Winter's different than summer. It's really a well-run, good dog food company. KineticDogFood.com. Be sure to check them out on social media too, man. They're amazing folks. KineticDogFood.com.
By now, you've probably all heard my story at least once. I'm usually getting tagged by dogs or hurting myself. So this next product is like near and dear to me because I actually use it. Quick Turn by Vet Care. It does great for keeping small things from turning into big ones. I use it at the kennel for clients' dogs that have some issues with skin stuff or have food allergies or have environmental allergies. Works great. Keeps hot spots from making giant hot spots. And it keeps my working dogs, who inevitably find magnificent ways to hurt themselves, from turning it into a giant vet visit. Stops little issues from becoming big ones. So it comes in a spray, it comes in an ointment, it comes in a dressing. It's great for creating a protective barrier and promoting wound healing. You really only have to use it like once a day. So there's no reason not to have it in the vehicle. Since it's temperature stable, you don't got to worry about it getting hot, getting cold, or anything like that. So put it in your first aid kit or put it in your cabinet. vetcare.us on the internet, Quick Derm by Vetcare on on Instagram and on Facebook, and then hit them up with the discount code 10WDR for 10% off your first order.
So my entire time that I was a handler or a trainer in law enforcement, the cars at my department, in the departments that I trained, all had American aluminum accessory kennels in the cars. Different cars, man. Dodge Chargers, all Ford models, some Chevys, SUVs, cars, everything. We loved American aluminum accessories. It's a great product, a great company. They've been serving canine law enforcement community for over 20 years. If you check out their website, EZ, that's the letter Z, EZRiderOnline.com. They got testimonials. They got videos on how to. They got a list of everything they have. Just today, we made a post on the Working Dog Radio social media showing a dog that survived a really bad crash because of the American aluminum kennel in the back of the car. Check them out online, guys. EZRiderOnline.com. Just let them do their thing, man. Whatever car you got for your work, your patrol car, get a hold of them, American aluminum accessories, and get the best in the business.
Next up comes training courses online from our friends down at Highland Canine Training, Jason and Aaron Ferguson. So in the post-Rona world, training budgets have been getting cut. People aren't going to be able to travel, whether it be instructors or they be canine handlers and supervisors going somewhere else for training. So Highland has announced a lot of online training courses. One of those that sticks out to me is their police supervisor canine course. And it's no secret that one of the problems with canine tends to be some of the supervision issues. This course is specifically designed for administrators and covers utilization as well as liability and FLSA issues. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you'll receive a certificate of completion at the end. When you go to Tactical Police Canine Training, that's letter K number 9, training.com, and use the discount code WDR30, you'll get 30% off of that course. All right, we're back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I'm in Tulsa, Eric's in Ohio, and our guest Bryce is in the deepest, darkest Africa. If you missed the first half of it, he's out in the middle of nowhere. So before we were talking to Bryce about coming up and being born in Africa, Southern Africa, and how we get into the whole process of getting away from Africa and then coming back, and then the whole wildlife and protecting the wildlife and what the process is for that. So speaking of the process, let's talk a little bit about the unit that you guys have at ATS. So you mentioned a little bit beforehand, like building a team. And as you were describing it, you're like, it's kind of hard knowing that, because I mean, Eric's a cop, I train police officers. There is definitely a chance that every time our guys go to work, that they're going to get into some kind of altercation or they're going to get into a shooting. That doesn't happen very often. But for you guys, like pretty much every time you make contact, like they're shooting, there is a definite, like it's almost 100% you are going to be shot at. And I was thinking about, I was like, yeah, that's a little bit different. Like it's a different little mentality, knowing that as soon as you make contact, like you're going to have to return fire for the most part, because they're not going to run, or if they do, they're going to make sure that they get away, and they're going to do it by killing people. So, talk a little bit about how the process started with this anti-poaching, and then we'll get into some of the dogs and why we have them.
Yeah, so fantastic. Ted, yeah, we obviously started out initially without the dogs, just man tracking, training rangers to be able to detect. So basically living around the asset, living around rhino, monitoring rhino, but obviously having the paramilitary aspect so that they can defend themselves and protect the rhino. And as this rhino war has evolved, these poachers have more and more, they've taken on the anti-tracking side of things. So using heavy calibers, silencers, sometimes AKs with silencers, and they're learning to anti-track. So they would, instead of walking single file, they split up into where they would be in an extended line where you can only track one at a time, as well as foot coverings. They will put multiple layers of socks and stuff over their shoes so that they break up you won't pick up a track on the ground. So a lot of anti-tracking which just makes it difficult to man track. So traditionally, we've had to go the hard way of man tracking. And then we were always keen on the canine aspect. And my brother actually got a Rhodesian Ridgeback pup, and he started with that. Started doing some basic training, getting it to track, and we started actually tracking rhino with this dog in a monitoring role and proof of concept and that kind of thing. And then we eventually took this dog off lead because of our terrain. Our terrain is very thick and very, very difficult to work on a lead. And then later there was an opportunity to get some mallees out, which we jumped to, and an organization called Dogs for Wildlife. They a guy called Daryl Pleasance, he interfaced, and we got the first 2 dogs out to the Conservancy, and they came actually Dutch mallees, and they came in as just with basic training. Sort of, they'd had a year's sort of GP training, so they had all the basics. We then did all the tracking training with them, and basically refined them and polished them up to be able to work within our structure and according to what we need on the ground. Based on our man tracking formations and principles, we basically integrated the dog into that. And it takes us at least 8 months to a year to train a dog. So a dog's got its 1 year of basic training, and then it takes us a further 8 months to a year to get that dog to a basic operational standard. And then it grew. We then got a second set of dogs, a set of Belgian mallees, and we found them to be better than the Dutch mallees. Just better endurance. The brown color seemed to work better for us with heat. They're less susceptible to heat, a little bit more driven, I think, or maybe that would be debatable, but we just found the Belgian mallees better. We got a male and female, Justice and Shatani, and then we were able to breed those 2, and we got 7 pups from the first litter. And then we trained those all the way up in-house from the beginning. We also got a German Shepherd out from Italy, an Italian border tracking line German Shepherd, very nice, not a standard German Shepherd, quite small, built a little bit like a Mallee, and quite high octane, and she's also quite good. So it's basically we've now first litter, born and bred on the ground. Obviously a lengthy process, but we've really got them dialed in now. They're operational now, and starting to get good results. We do a lot of our learning work on meat poachers, guys that are coming in to lay snares in areas. We detect those guys, we track them down. It's lower key than the rhino poaching side of things, but that's basically our training ground is on the meat poaching side of things. That's pretty constant. Every couple of times a week there's incursions, and we're tracking meat poachers to conclusion one way or another. We end up going outside with parks and the police, do a lot of door knocking, nailing guys with evidence out there, and obviously inside as well. If they're still in, we'll make arrests inside. And then, of course, the rhino poaching side is a lot more dangerous. But both sides, I mean, the meat poaching guys they use machetes, spears, bows and arrows, very dangerous, a lot of night work. And then the rhino poachers, obviously armed, and they'll shoot at you. So very, very dangerous. We had a dog stabbed in the neck. He took a 6-inch blade into the neck once, survived it. It's really, really dangerous work, and we've got to really be careful.
So when you have a new asset like dogs that come in, 2 things happen. One, you have to have the idea, convince people, and the other one is you have to proof the concept. So who brought up the idea of dogs? Where did it come from? Did you guys see it somewhere? Did you hear? Did you just learn some things? And how hard of a sell was it in the beginning?
So it started basically, we started hearing more and more that guys were using dogs in the Scouts, in the Selous Scouts days in the war. They tried to use dogs in packs from helicopters and that kind of thing, and the dogs got shot. They never really used the concept of working with a Mali in a team that would be slower moving but more methodical, that kind of thing. They never really took it to its full potential. So with the anti-poaching side of things, different guys in different areas in Southern Africa started to use dogs, some with a little bit of success, a lot with very little success, because it's obviously something that you got to put full effort into it, and it's got to be 100% or nothing. So we heard guys were trying, and we thought we'd pick up on it. We also looked at history, the way dogs were used in the Vietnam War, and use of dogs in various other areas like the States, guys tracking with dogs, border patrol, all that kind of thing. We thought there would be a good opportunity. We thought we could make it work with a dog. I did a lot of falconry. I used to fly hawks and work pointers and stuff in my teenage years. So we kind of had that basic understanding of how to train a dog and work a dog and that sort of thing, and a hawk. So when we brought in the Ridgeback that my brother got, we put our heads together, and we just, with the knowledge of the paramilitary side, we engineered, basically trained the dog to suit our needs on the ground. So that's basically how it worked, and then we just adapted with it, and we felt that if guys can train a sheepdog or any other dog to work and herd cattle and do different things, work offline, and a dog is capable of being incredibly disciplined, surely we can get a dog to work within our formation and be able to adjust with terrain and move at the pace we're moving at, and work with us, but be able to provide that element of tracking, which would give us that edge with the. So basically, but also a lot of what contributed was the evolution of rhino poaching. The more these guys were going into anti-tracking, we started to think more and more, how do we, the challenge was always the tracking. And with man tracking, you're always behind, you're a long way behind, you've got to put stop groups in, you've got to try and you often fail. And we were just trying to find ways to track faster, close the gap and make contact. And that's basically, having done it, we were then amazed at how effective and how we started to get results. And then we've been in touch with various other guys in Southern Africa that operate as well. And as soon as we started getting results, we just started to realize that this is key. This is, for us now, we've realized that the canine aspect, we've nailed a number of rhino poaching gangs that without the canine, we would have still been at it with these gangs. And for instance, man tracking, you could have several attempts at a gang and fail. You could lose up to 15, 20 rhino attempting to get a gang. And yet with the canines, within 1 or 2 attempts, we've managed to succeed.
So proofing the concept then, what was the first thing that happened, that first success that the unit had with dogs, when everybody's like, yeah, I'm bought in, this is worth it, and now I know? What was that first case where you had success?
So the first case was phenomenal. We did all that training, basically because we had tracked to contact, just man tracking, we knew what it was going to be like. So we knew how we needed to train the dogs, for that end game, specifically for, when you get there and when you make contact, what that was going to look like and how it needed to play out. So after all that lengthy training and preparedness, when the opportunity finally came, it was a rhino poaching gang that had killed a cow and calf. They'd killed a few rhino in an area prior. and we were after them. We were detecting every day. It took 3 months of solid detection, morning and evening, different strategies. I'm talking big detection lines. And then finally we got these guys. Actually, one of our teams with a canine, with this dog, Justice, our top dog, they actually saw these guys, but they never saw the firearm. They weren't certain whether they were rhino poachers or meat poachers. Saw them, got a glimpse. They hadn't seen our guys. Our guys lay low, went around the back, put the dog. Obviously, the dog was detecting. The dog picked up scent, got onto track. It was a short track, the first one, probably 2 kilometers. And they realized these guys were anti-tracking. When our guys made contact, it was actually an incredible case. It was a small team. It was just the main handler and his assistant who was unarmed. The handler was armed with a semi-automatic rifle, assistant unarmed. When they made contact, these guys heard them coming up as they made contact, and they started running. And our guys hadn't seen a rifle, so they couldn't shoot. They put warning shots in the air, released the dog. The dog ran, the rangers chased. When our lead ranger, a guy called Akmos, when he got to these guys, the gunner had turned on him with a heavy caliber, picked him up and was literally about to pull the trigger. He got our ranger got off the first couple of shots, wounded this guy, went down. The dog then turned. He had gone to the 3. There were 4 in this gang. He had gone to the 3, and he was basically looking for a guy to take down. When the handler engaged this guy with a rifle, the dog realized just instinctively that this was the guy he was after, turned and nailed him, and then managed to actually separate him from this heavy caliber rifle, dragged him 15 meters, lacerated him, really messed up his arm, and incredible. I mean, this guy was wounded. He was dangerous. He could have shot the ranger. The dog went straight in, grabbed him, bit him, and dragged him, separated him, and that allowed Akmos to move on to him and actually make the arrest. Phenomenal case, hardcore rhino poacher. He's been in hospital. This was late. This was December 2020. He's still in hospital, but he's now kind of healed from his bullet wounds, but he's on trial now, and hopefully he's going to get a 9-year sentence. So incredible first case, hardcore gang. They would have kept killing rhino, and the guys got him. And the words of our lead ranger, handler, when I went and met up with him, he said to me, "Sir, the dog is equivalent to 4 men." He said, "I was myself and my assistant who was unarmed." He said, "This dog, it was like I had 4 extra rangers with me." He said he was just praising the dog, that the dog, had also helped, potentially save his life, because this guy lying there wounded in the rocks could have shot him as well.
Man, so you mentioned you guys have had some 25-kilometer tracks here in the United States. I mean, we don't do some of the search and rescue stuff. They'll do fairly long tracks, or they'll have very long searches in a confined area because they're having to, go through lots and lots and lots and lots of rubble or lots of debris or whatever else. I'm sitting here when I was listening to it, and Eric and I were texting back and forth, and like the selection process for those dogs has to be pretty unique, because the endurance that's required to do that. I mean, you guys are fucking tracking for days, and here, most of our tracks, absolutely. I think the DOJ released something here that like most tracks are in the United States are just under like 5/6 of a mile or something, which is nothing for you guys. So what does that look like in terms of managing the dog for that amount of time? I mean, because you've got Malinois, and honestly, we picked them here in the United States because they have just a shit ton of drive and they will work. The problem is they end up working themselves into the ground. So a lot of the times what I teach handlers a lot is like, look, you've got to manage his activity level, because if not, he ain't going to work all fucking day. But you guys are out for days at a time. So talk about that process a little bit.
yeah, it's a fine balance. I mean, we've got to be very careful not to overwork them. We train, you know, a lot of the time they're road running every day. They do road runs. You know, if they're out detecting, then they won't road run. But if they're not detecting, they're training, and not very, very long runs. You know, sort of 8 kilometer, 8 Ks. But what we do is we train and keep the dog really fit. Detection, we sort of averaging 8-10 kilometer detection lines. But the dog, we try and keep the dog fit enough, and we do quite a bit of infinity tracking, not all the time, but you know, sort of we'll do a long track every second week if they're not getting it out there, if they're not getting the real thing. But we try and keep them really fit. And it's obviously those longer tracks are when you pick up on something like a rhino poaching gang, and then you just keep going all the way through. And like I said, we've had a couple of 17s. The longest we've had is 25 Ks on a track to contact. Incredible. But it is weather determined. I mean, if it's a really hot day, you're not going to get that kind of distance. You know, conditions have to be reasonable. The day Justice got those guys, a couple of them ran away. We put him back on, and he did a 25 Ks. We made contact again. That was kind of his limit. We would normally change a dog, just watch the dog. They're not all going to do that. We found he's pretty special, but we've got a female that's done a couple of 15 to 17 K tracks. But we'll manage it on the track, and if we've got, you know, we like to keep a second dog there, sometimes pull in more, and we'll just watch that dog. And, you know, if we get a 12K, that's good, but there's times we got to push it. And so I think it's just down to the amount of, you know, we're detecting every day, so they're well conditioned. And in the training phase in the first year, we start them short, so sort of a couple of 100 meters, then a K, then 1,500, and we build up until we're doing every single day, we're doing 5-6 kilometers. Then we extend that to 8-9. And then we get to that point where when that dog can do 10-12 Ks, we pick a day with good weather, and then we'll push him right out to 15, that sort of thing. So we're not doing that all the time, but once that dog's conditioned and his mind is strong, that's what we've learned with the Malleys is if you get a good dog and you keep him training, and most of the time when you get onto stuff, whatever the range is, if you can be winning and you develop that dog's mental strength, the dog believes it's going to win, and the dog knows by that scent, you know, if it's fresh and it's well conditioned, he can tell that, you know, he perseveres, he's going to get the win. So we have had some times when they can't make it, when we've had to change the dog, but like I say, we have no problem getting 12 to 15, and beyond that is a long track, even according to the standards we're working with here. So yeah, it's all down to conditioning and building that dog's mental strength.
Well, and Bryce, you got to take a little credit for yourself, as in you got to walk that far too, or run a lot of that, wearing boots and everything else you got to do. So when you're selecting rangers to be the dog handlers and do the tracking, what are you looking for in guys when you're getting those guys?
So you're looking for guys that have got the physical attributes. They got to be really fit. I mean, the guys have to be really fit, and again, it's like with a dog. I mean, we set high standards. We realize that with the canines, it's an all or nothing in this field. You know, it's like a top-notch rugby team. If you're going to win games, you got to be 80% fit. You can't be peaking all the time, but you got to be fit, and so you can't be lazy. So it's that conditioning. The guys working with the dogs all the time, they get really, really fit with the dogs as well. And it's incredible how fit that dog can get. I mean, even the bushmeat poachers are operating with dogs that are, you know, we call them licorice, all sorts. They're all kinds of breeds mixed, and these dogs, These dogs are going out hunting, night hunting, and in the day with these guys, and they'll often do a 20-kilometer loop, and they obviously get tired, but they get conditioned to what they do. So as we train and we push, like I say, it's a process. You don't, if you push it too quick, you'll break that dog's interest. You know, the dog will just think, well, this is not fun. So it's really incremental. As you keep building that dog's fitness through the tracking, and we do all our tracking is through drive. So it all ends with the bulk of it ends with a bite. We do a lot of bite drive work, and so they're really driven. But as I say, it's incremental, and as that dog's getting fit, those ranges are getting fit until you've really got a dog that's strong. We've also found that when that canine starts to get bites, actual real life bites, and it sounds a bit rough, but when he tastes a little bit of blood and has the odd fight and really gets into it with the team, that dog changes. That dog now becomes so much more determined. He wants the win. And we don't let them hunt wildlife at all. So, in his mind, he's hunting poachers down and catching poachers. And obviously we don't abuse these guys or anything. We stick to proper rules. But the dog, often you've got to release the dog and he gets a bite. And we find that really makes, changes his mind, that with the fitness. Just incremental steps. And it takes, like I said, 8 months to a year. And then that dog will continue to get stronger and stronger, with conditioning.
I've got one of the dogs in my handler school right now, and another one getting ready to start the same way. And we imprint tracking a little differently. We do the hydration method and everything else, and the dogs are kind of like, whatever. And the moment that it becomes a prey exercise, that all of a sudden all the wheels click, and then all of a sudden everything speeds up. And I've found that if I start that way with dogs, then getting them to track becomes very difficult. So I teach them the odor I want to find first. And then once they figure it out, they're like, oh, really? This is how this works. And now every time we get them out to track, and it's like they've got turbo mode on, because they are ready to rock and roll. But before, they're kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll track. I'll do this, I guess. But now, you get 2 bites and they're on fire. So
absolutely.
It's funny you say about looking for fit guys, because I don't know. I don't know how many pictures or videos I've seen of rangers in Africa. I ain't seen a fat one yet, Bryce. Yeah. I'm sure there's some, but I ain't seen one. So I had a question for you. When I was in law enforcement for all the years I was in, intel gathering is a big thing for like gang units and stuff like that. So in the city that I work in, we know all of them, right? We have run into them, or we've got intel on them. Do these poaching gangs, do you know them? Do their names sound familiar when you guys catch up to them? Is it that level of intel, or is it just so vast that it's hard to do that?
No, absolutely, Eric. Intel is a massive part of what we do, coupled with, working the teams on the ground. But we know these guys, we study them, we learn, we share intel in the country. It's a number of syndicates that are into the poaching, and we work on targeted intel. So we work on infiltration. We find their weaknesses and that kind of thing. And we get to know everything about them, who they are, where they're going, what they're up to, how they're operating, what's their MO, that sort of thing. So we then, we like to get that intel and work on that so that we know where to detect, and that kind of thing, and what to expect. And that's how we work. If we don't have current intel, then we're just working areas, according to what we deem areas of vulnerability and that kind of thing. But if we can have the intel and be able to intercept, that's fantastic. And that's how we've done it so far is largely in the relationship between the int and the canine teams on the ground. Vital, absolutely.
How easy is it for people to for gangs like that to travel into Zimbabwe from other places?
So from South Africa, really easy. The borders are fairly porous. They can get through and come down. But in Zim, it's mainly Zimbabweans, sometimes Zambians involved, because they've got links to the buyers, and they route through the Congo and into Czech Republic and up to China and Vietnam, that sort of thing. But there is more quite a lot of activity through South Africa as well, and Maputo into Mozambique. But we're finding, normally guys are, there might be a sponsor based in South Africa that commissions a team, and in Zimbabwe. Also, what we found is a lot of Zimbabweans that have, because of economic difficulties, they've gone to South Africa to look for work. They get involved in they get involved in crime syndicates there, and then they get, basically commissioned to find rhino horn back home. That sort of thing happens as well. So yeah, it's quite amazing how it works. But most of the gangs are, made up of mainly of Zimbabweans. Yeah.
That's sad. So real quick before we take our second break, all your dogs are off leash, correct? In their tracking,
yes.
In their work? Is it one dog Absolutely. Out? Is that the rule, one dog out with the team, or is there times where you have maybe a couple?
Classic, normally a team is comprised of 6 rangers and 2 dogs, and they'll go out and they'll split 2-3 guys tracking, detecting with one dog, the others heading the other way with the other dog, and they'll cover, a large tracking line. And then if either one picks up, you would pull that other team in and keep that dog as fresh as you can for changeover. And then the teams would beef up. So you would put, you would beef up the numbers tracking if it's an armed issue, so that you've got, enough firepower on the flanks and that kind of thing. And and that's how we operate in mobile units. We operate in mobile units like that. We find that most effective because then we can satellite around the conservancy in a very unpredictable way. They don't know where we are. We're changing it up all the time. We're detecting different areas all the time, mixing it up all the time. And then we pick up on these guys. So that's the general meat poaching. And like I say, the rhino poaching side is more tied in with the intel. Is more in specific, gang specific. We know where each gang, where a gang would operate, that kind of thing. But yeah, small units, mobile units that are backed up, that are self-sufficient with a vehicle. They've got a police officer, Zim National Parks, so that they can go out. We're fully indemnified by the law here in Zimbabwe, very well supported by the government. They back us all the way, which is fantastic. That's typically how we operate.
That's really cool. That's really neat. We're going to go ahead and take our second break. We get back, we're going to get into a little bit of differences of the poachers and the dangers they individually, put towards the rangers and the people that are working there, and then kind of how going forward in the future and how people can help you. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we love the Perkinsons down in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training. They are great people, great trainers. They got a good business model. They're awesome folks. We've been with them for a long time. They're also super smart, and they understand that a lot of agencies are struggling to have manpower, so they're not sending people away for training. You guys have been there. You put in, denied, lack of manpower. So they've created an online course section of their website, tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com. You get on there under training, the online course. But here's the best thing is they offer a canine supervisor course, which we know a lot of police canine supervisors don't get to go to training. They don't know as much as they should. Right here online, the course discusses topics such as proper selection of dogs and handlers, proper deployment, effective allocation and utilization, as well as liability and the FLSA issues, which we know is where all the legal stuff comes from, interdepartmental. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you will receive a certificate of completion at the end. They're offering an amazing discount, guys. 30% off using the discount code WDR30. It's a no-brainer. If you're a police supervisor and you guys have manpower issues and you can't go, get on tacticalpoliceK9training.com under the training tab. Get on that supervisor's course, man. I'm telling you, it's a smart decision.
Another one of our favorite partnerships with the podcast here is the one and only Dogtra. The Dogtra guys have been producing some amazing tools in the dog training world for a long time. Everything from e-collars, GPS tracking, ball trainers. If it's electric and you use it with a dog, they've probably done it. They're the best. They are revolutionizing the way you communicate with your dog. I use it daily, whether I'm using pets. I use the 200C on most of our pets. Most of my patrol guys will use a 1900 hands-free, 1900S hands-free, and then I use the ball popper pretty much daily with all of our detection dogs for imprinting on our box protocols. So hit them up at Dogtra Official on Instagram and Facebook, and then you've got dogtra.com. And when you go there, if you use the discount code WDR10, they'll give you 10% off a single item over $200. So if you're looking at a 1900S or that Ball Popper Pro or one of those things, it'll knock a substantial chunk off there. So hit them up, doctor.com, WDR10.
So everybody knows that Ted and I not only train police dogs, we train pet dogs, right? We train dogs. So it's why our relationship with Ray Allen Manufacturing is so important. These guys have been doing this so long. They knew and they understand that dogs are dogs, and it's not just working dog people that need things for their dog and dog training. So you go to rayallen.com. They have everything dog related that you need. Anything that when it comes to dogs, pet dogs, your pet, training dogs, police dogs, dogs you're training for other departments, anything you need, rayallen.com. They've got it. You can get on there. So if you're ordering stuff for police dogs and if you have a pet side, you can get it all in one, man. They ship it out. Got a nice big box full of a whole bunch of stuff. There's nothing better than getting a big box of dog training stuff in the mail. They also are great to us, and they offer a discount code Working Dog Radio, all capital letters, Working Dog Radio for 10% off. Check them out, rayallen.com. Great people. Ted and I use them every day.
Super excited to have American Aluminum Accessories on board with us here at the podcast. These guys manufacture a wide variety of products, from high-quality cam locker toolboxes to an extensive line of products designed to meet the ever-changing needs of the law enforcement community. Around 1992, due to the demand for safe and secure transport for a local law enforcement agency's canine unit, they introduced the very first in-vehicle Easy Rider canine container. So it was basically what we now call just our inserts. They have continuously grown and expanded the products, catering to the needs and the wants of their valued customers and high-profile clientele, and catering specifically to law enforcement. Over the years, as the needs have changed for law enforcement, they've evolved and expanded the products to include inmate transport systems, the canine training aids, which I use quite a bit of, canine inserts. Every one of my guys has one of those things. And if you're not even have to be in law enforcement, I have several friends that are civilians that work lots of dogs that have the inserts put into their cars too. So if you got one that fits, you can do it. They also do contraband and animal control systems, just to name a few. So be sure to hit them up. The website is Easy Rider Online. So that's the letter E, the letter Z as in zebra, rideronline.com. If you're looking for them on Instagram and Facebook, it's American Aluminum Accessories. Feel free to hit them up there too.
So our first and oldest sponsor that's been with us from the beginning is Arno out at ALM, out there in Las Vegas area. Arno is a great dude. He makes great stuff for police work and sport work, suits, tugs. I'm telling you right now, his tugs are the best in the business. You can't get any better. Multiple colors. I buy boxes of them from him, give them out to everybody. I've got a bite suit from him. Love it. I've had it for a little over 3 years, and it's holding up like a champ. Ted's got a suit that he's had forever from ALM. We wouldn't go anywhere else, man. We love it. Arno is such a good dude. His ALMK9equipment.com is the website. Get on there. He's got pre-made suits. He can do custom suits based on your measurements. He's got stuff already already made up. If you kind of get a kind of generic large size, maybe for everybody, the colors he has, man, is really cool. He can put a lot of stuff on those suits. Check him out, almk9equipment.com, and use the discount code WD Radio for 10% off.
You know, running a kennel is one of those things that I always worry about, is cleanliness and safety of dogs. And it seems like it's an ever-changing issue, being able to house dogs and move things around, everything else. So the guys at Horizon Structure make this as easy as possible. Literally, the only thing you have to do is have water and power hookups, and they deliver it, and you can put dogs in that day. And it comes on a trailer. They just drop it off. You plug it in, put dogs in it, and you're ready to rock. You keep them clean, you keep them safe, you keep them cool in the summer and warm in the wintertime. And it's completely custom. You can go complete mild to wild. I've seen some that were stainless steel all the way from top to bottom on the inside. And then I've seen some for a bulldog breeder that, you know, had smaller gates because those things can't jump. So if you reach out to them, they're sitting there waiting for you to call and help you through the custom design process. They have everything from 2-dog ones up to, I want to say like 18 or 20. It's a lot of, you can put a lot of dogs, indoor, outdoor runs. So anything you've ever dreamed of, they've got it, have done it, or can do it. So they've taken all the guesswork out of building it. Everything is pre-done to your specifications, and it's assembled, dropped off, boom, you're ready to rock. Things are amazing. Rigney has one. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Go check out his Instagram, and you can see he's posted it up there before. Go look Horizon up at Horizon Structures, spelled out. On the internet, it's horizonstructures.com, and you're going to look for the link in there that says commercial dog kennels, or give them a call, 888-447-4337. They'd love to talk to you and get you started on the way.
All right, Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. We are back. Ted and I are sitting here with our buddy Bryce Clemence from ATS K9 out in Zimbabwe, going after all these rhino poachers and meat poachers. Now, you mentioned that. You've mentioned the meat poachers a few times during the things. Talk about, for us here, sitting there, people in the States that don't really, they just think poachers, you know, they're just thinking it's the people out there taking maybe just rhino horns and things like that. Talk about the types, because like in your media guide, you talk about rhino poachers and bushmeat poachers. Each one of them operate obviously differently, and they each have their own unique set of problems that they can send your way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is. It's remarkable. The meat poaching side of it, they're more guys that are. So there's two different types of meat poaching. The one aspect is subsistence, guys that are looking to survive. That's fairly limited. The bulk of it always turns into more commercialized, where they're killing sort of plains game species, eland, wildebeest, impala, that sort of thing, and they're sort of killing it in big number and selling it. It turns into a trade. So there's a subsistence side, the guy that's just trying to survive, they're there, and then there's this meat trade, which is the more prevalent, and those are fairly big syndicates. You get 6-8 guys in a gang that can kill 10, 12 animals in a night. And they keep at it through the different phases. In the dark phase, they use torches at night. They operate at night. In the moon, they use dogs, that sort of thing. And then the rhino poaching aspect, these are guys that are more sophisticated criminals. They're not poor people or anything like that. They're guys that are just they're greedy for money, and they will come out. They've often got military training, ex-military, that sort of thing. They're aggressive. They're prepared to shoot you. Completely different level of criminal, and very dangerous. So organized crime, they sponsored from higher up the chain, sort of a chain effect coming down from the sponsor down to the middleman, and so the top sponsor on the demand side, and then down to a middleman in country, with a syndicate on the ground, normally comprised of a gunner and a guy that knows the area, and a guy that'll carry 3-4 guys in a rhino poaching gang, sometimes two firearms, often like an AK for self-defense and a heavy caliber bolt action rifle for killing the rhino. Those guys are organized, they're smart, they spend a lot of time planning. They're really smart, and the war is evolving. That's the incredible thing, is it's a tug of war. You know, the rhino in the middle, we're pulling on one end, they're pulling on the other, and it's always a wit and outwit. They're constantly looking at how they can overcome us, and we're obviously looking at how we can be a few steps ahead and looking at predicting how it's going to evolve. So yeah, really in the meat poaching side, the syndicates that are into this sort of commercial meat poaching, they're using machetes, spears and stuff, bows and arrows. They're also prepared to knife you. There's been a number of rangers killed, not in our unit, but in other teams, you know, taken arrows, taken machetes, you know, and that kind of thing. So yeah, really dangerous stuff.
So the meat poachers, what primarily animals are they? I know they're putting traps out and they're probably getting whatever they can, but what is the main meat that they're after?
So they do a lot of snaring. They'll come in and set snare lines. A snare is just a noose trap, you know, normally heavy wire or cable, and they'll set snare lines. Sometimes, you know, a handful, sometimes hundreds of them, and they're normally going for eland, buffalo, just sort of game meat species, sort of plains game, zebra, kudu. But the problem with that stuff is being indiscriminate. You know, rhino get caught, lions get caught, leopard, wild dogs, you know, other endangered species get caught, and they often lose a limb or and that sort of thing. So it's really bad. Sometimes these guys will set a snare line and not return to it, and you come and find a bunch of rotting animals in them. So it's really wasteful, and it causes a lot of harm. And then, of course, the guys using torches at night and machetes, they've developed a new style that's spreading across Africa, and that is they're using bright spotlights, the introduction of these LED lights. You know, they're economical on batteries, but powerful, and they come in the dark phase and they run around and they dazzle wildlife. They shine it in their eyes, it blinds them. Game doesn't know what to do, where to move, but they're dazzled, and they run in with machetes, cut the Achilles tendons on these animals, just basically hack them down with machetes and spears, and then they cut it up and they carry it out, and they'll run around a couple of hours in the night, get a bag of kills and go. And that's where it's now a trade, and where they're getting a lot and they're doing a lot of damage. And this is where, with the canines, again, you could never counter that really at night without the canines, other than ambushing, you know, on routes and that sort of thing. But with the canines, we can actually pick them up at night. We can track them. We can detect discreetly, pick them up, track them, and contact in there in the night. So very dangerous, but we do it, and we have a lot of success like that as well. So that's a massive, you know, aspect with the canines.
That's insane. To hear that. We do that. Well, we don't, but we have that stuff here in the United States. We just call it spotlighting. It's illegal. You don't want to get caught doing that here. So do you guys use any of the stuff? Do you have technology that you can use too? Do you guys have drones or anything else to help? Or is it just you dudes and the dogs?
At this stage, pretty much, you know, relying on the canines and the teams. We've got some day drones. We're really keen to get our hands on a thermal drone, a good, we've been looking at a unit called the Matrice 300. Something that's portable, but that's got the thermal aspect would be a massive help to us on the ground. Being able to you know, get up over the team and be able to warn them ahead. We've had, like I say, we've had success with drones. We've just got 2 new Mavic 3s, but daytime. and we've had good success with them in the day overhead. The canines, like I say, we haven't yet, been able to come up with the funding for a thermal unit that's capable. I know there's one or two smaller units available today, but they don't have the flight time. 15, 20 minutes is not enough. You're just getting into it, and then you've got to go change the battery. The base standard would be something like a Matrice 300, which has got about 50 minutes of operation. That would be substantial, and would be a significant, force multiplier tool to add to our unit. We do have a little bit of night vision equipment. We do have some night vision that we've been given to work with and use, and that's really helpful on the ground. But we pretty much, when the guys get on track, they're tracking in the dark with tack lights, and they're tracking. They use the red LED on the tack light to confirm on the spoor, and they're tracking pretty much in the dark all the way to contact, which is, it takes some doing.
Yeah, Ted and I both have drones, and I can tell you batteries are life, and it's the biggest pain in the ass.
Yes.
The whole thing with the batteries and everything. So,
absolutely.
Everybody, we talked about how like the government of Zimbabwe is very supportive and things like that. But ATS relies on donor support. Obviously, we're talking about, feeding the dogs, vet care, the cost of the handlers, the people that work with you, all your gear, vehicles, and then obviously the technology that you could use, the different drones and maybe some other night vision and things that go along with that. So how do you people get you money? Because we have a lot of people that listen to this show from this country and other countries, and they're always looking for places to donate. And so how can people help you, Bryce?
So Eric, that's fantastic. We've got a 501c3. We've got a friend in the States who set up a 501c3 that she supports us with. So we have that set up that we can share contacts with you, so that anyone that's keen to donate can donate through that 501c3, and then it would come directly to us, and we would use it, directly on the ground, and can account back directly to those that would contribute and show them exactly where it's gone. We also have a PayPal account that we could share with you for those that would want to donate that way. But every bit counts. Donor funding is one of the biggest challenges that we faced. We've done 10 years now. Today is actually our 10-year anniversary today that we've been operating here in the Conservancy. And apart from the Rhino War itself, which is an incredibly demanding fight, for the country, for the world, it's a massive struggle to get funding and support. And I think it's just because, it's hard for folks to connect with us on the ground. And that's why we've recently put a lot more focus on the social media side. We've got Lauren, who's been in touch with you, who runs our social media. And that's why we're making these efforts to connect with folks like yourselves, to try and put the word out there that, we're a frontline elite unit that's making a difference for the world, and we need every bit of support we can get on the ground. Every bit counts. As you say, you need money to do this stuff. Logistics is a big one. Vehicles, wages to keep the guys going. That's key. We'd like to grow this unit as well, because we've perfected the model. And if we can grow it, it just becomes more sustainable. As we have a growing rhino population, we need to grow the effort. So, but as it stands, we're looking for further support. And just as you said, logistics, fees to cover men, veterinary and food, that sort of thing. Those are the main running needs all the time. A thermal drone, like we've been saying, would be a massive help. We've been putting the word out everywhere, trying as much as we can to get one. That would be massive.
So what is, if not, we're going to put everything in the show notes so people can look at it. But what is the PayPal account that people can directly send money to, and the 501c3?
Yeah, so I'll need to give that to you. I don't have it on with me, on hand, but I can get it to you to put up to connect you, no problem at all. Through Laura, who runs our media and the admin side, I can do that. But yeah, also just to let you know that we also are happy to give folks feedback. We're doing a monthly impact report on the work that we're doing on the ground. So folks that would get involved and support us, they would get constant feedback from the impact we're having, that kind of thing. And we would even offer, special trips. We'd have to plan that where if folks, can support us significantly, would be willing to get them out here to come and see what we're actually doing and get a feel for what we're doing out here. That's often the best way to understand the situation. So that is always a possibility, and we're open to that. Welcome folks to come and visit.
Yeah, Lauren's a good person. We know her very well. Yeah. She's been our connection here with you, and her help with dogs and things that she's been doing. She's the one I was saying earlier that's got Africa in her blood now, and and she's always going to be doing what she does to help you guys. What about Absolutely. Social media? Can people follow you on Instagram and things?
Absolutely, yeah. I can send you that as well. They can follow us. We're mainly on Instagram, and folks can follow on Instagram. Those are the two main, through our monthly impact reports and Instagram. We're pushing hard to create that awareness.
Yeah, I just found it. It's on Instagram. It's at ATS_anti-poaching. That's ATS_anti-poaching. Also, I see here, buddy, last year was a big year for you on the award side. You won Best Game Ranger award last year. There's right, Eric. Yeah, that real privilege, real honor. I mean, really, really honored to have received that award. There's a lot of worthy rangers in Africa deserving. So I was really, really honored to receive that award. Obviously, it's a team effort. All this is about the team. And, like someone said, the dog without the pack and the pack without the dog. Same story in the anti-poaching. It's a team effort. Every one of our guys is critically important. So, we won an award the year prior as a team, and then I won the Best Game Ranger award for 2021. So absolute honor. That's awesome. I love it. I tell you what, I was messaging with Ted in our thing here. I think, knowing myself, especially and every time I came across a dead rhino, I would be so fueled by anger at that point, like every single time, that it would probably even cloud my judgment a little bit in how I'm working. But I can tell that's probably what fuels you and your guys to keep pushing into the danger and everything you do every time you find one of those.
Absolutely, Eric. I mean, that's a very good point. We I think for a true law enforcement officer, one of the biggest things that drives me is to see a criminal come down and get dealt with. That's what pushes me out there every day. I love wildlife and conservation, but when I see a crime committed like that, I can't. We always pledge when we see a dead rhino. We pledge that we are going to bring these guys to justice. We're going to bring them to book. And some of these cases, it's an emotional roller coaster. We get to know these rhino. They're named, they have national IDs, they're critically endangered, and we have one of the largest populations in Africa. We're one of 9 key stronghold populations. But yeah, you take a loss, everyone gets depressed, but you can't stay depressed. You've got to, it's that military principle, improvise, adapt, overcome. You've got to focus on the living, and we've got a positive growth rate here in the Conservancy. Through the efforts over the years, we've got a good positive growth rate. But absolutely, that's what fuels us, to see these criminals brought to book, and to see the rhino roaming peacefully, to know that you've taken out a criminal gang that were responsible for the killings of rhino, and to know that rhino can now peacefully breed in that particular area. That's what really drives us gang to gang. Know that we're making a real positive difference.
Yeah, I can imagine how if they don't get, if nothing becomes to the rhino, no shootings, nothing like that, how old will they live?
So rhino will live between 30 and 50 years old. So yeah, 30 to 50, yeah. And they really, if they're well protected and they're living peacefully, they'll breed. They'll have a calf every 3 years, and so they'll really breed well. And of course, it's a snowball effect. So the whole idea is, as we protect the rhino and the population grows like it's doing now, it's becoming more exponential, the growth. So now you can handle a few losses, not that you tolerate it, but a few losses you can handle because you're outbreeding. So it's a matter of keeping the gangs in check. And that's why the efforts we're making on the ground are so critical. The canine units and the team effort on the ground is we're managing to hold the tide back, buy the time for the rhino so they can breed. And there's no reason we can't keep doing what we're doing. It's just the support we need. We just need, continue to support so we can grow as the population grows. And there's no reason we can't keep doing it and keep winning. And then the plan is take parent stock. We were actually involved last year. We moved a couple of rhino. We contributed because of the success here. We contributed some rhino to an area south of us called Gonarajor, where they've put a parent stock of rhino into there, starting up a new model there. Fantastic operation to be part of and to contribute to. And that's the whole purpose. Breed out more, put them into other areas in the country, help develop similar models. All for the country, all for the world at large.
Yeah, that's people don't understand. You're doing it for not just Zimbabwe, but Africa and then the world at large. And definitely doing very, very important work. So when you guys see this, check the show notes. We'll have the links in there for the PayPal and ways to help these guys out. Consider it, please. If you're looking at a charity to donate to, you love animals and you want to help these guys out, please feel free to check them out and get on board there and see what you can do for them. Because I'm imagining 9 years for poaching in an African Zimbabwe prison probably sucks. So we want these guys to suck as much as possible, as long as possible, and as many of them as we can. But we need guys like Bryce and his team fully funded and operational. Bryce, really, really happy you're able to meet up with us. I know it's right in the middle. What is it? Nighttime there? Where are we at?
Yes, it's nighttime, 7:30 p.m. in the night, yeah. So early night.
Is it Wednesday or Tuesday there?
It is Tuesday.
Nice,
Tuesday
okay.
the 12th.
Not as bad as I thought. So that's pretty good.
The other direction. I was like,
I was like, what day is it?
I don't even know.
We've had some Australians on, and they're like, dude, we're like way ahead of you. We already know the news, what happened. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So Ted, where can you be found?
I'm at Ted_Summers on Instagram, working_dog_radio for the podcast, HRD Police Canine. And Yeah. Oh, and Torchlight Canine and Torchlight Pets. We just got a bunch of new pets in, which they're all up on there. I got a pit bull in that is just, it's going to be interesting. So by the time we record our next episode, maybe I'll have an update. But this, if I'll put it this way, it took 3 of us to get him into the kennel.
Yeah, you're going to go like this next time. Look, everything was great.
Yeah.
4 fingers.
Yeah.
Don't get your thumb, though. You got to have a thumb.
No,
That's what sets us apart.
I wear those gloves, man. Like, I'm not getting in there with him. So, yeah, other than that, what about you? Where are you at?
Van S K9 on Instagram, Van S K9 Academy on Facebook. We have workingdogradio.com. You can get all our merch on there. Get on there, please take a look at that stuff. And we have a Working Dog Radio page on Patreon. If you want some exclusive stuff on there, check it out. Check Ted and us out. Bryce, I'm glad Lauren worked this out for us. This is a great episode, buddy.
Yeah, for sure.
Eric, yeah, thank you very much. And Ted, yeah, I really appreciate it, guys. I was looking forward to chatting to you guys, chatting dogs. We're passionate about it. It's phenomenal. We believe it's the way forward into the future. I mean, the fact that all this anti-tracking and that they kind of outwit us now with the canines, phenomenal stuff. Got to get you guys out here one day to come track with us and come see how we do it and come and nice to glean off a lot of your experience too with handling and all that kind of thing. Be phenomenal.
But I'm going to need about a year to get my distance up to speed.
Yeah. That would be cool.
I gotta stretch. Get ready. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much. Great episode.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you later.
Yeah.